I just have regular flour in this and I have wheat flour in this. I typically use wheat flour to feed it on my days that I'm just feeding it a heaping tablespoon of flour and a regular sized tablespoon of water. I keep water on my counter because water when it sits for more than 30 minutes, it kills the chlorine in the water. So I'm teaching my mom too. So she's sitting right here. So I just have water in this. It's just my osmosis system water. But if you wanted to just use tap water, if you feel comfortable with that, or filtered water, that's fine. I just keep it in here and keep it on my counter with my starters. And when I go to feed it, I feed it the water that's been on the counter because then it doesn't have chlorine. Chlorine does something with the starter that it just doesn't love. So today I'm going to show you, I'm actually going to use my discard. So every day when you feed it, or every few days when you feed it, it doesn't have to be fed every day. If you go on vacation, you can leave it in your refrigerator. Just make sure you feed it a big heaping tablespoon before you leave, and then you can feed it immediately when you get back. Putting it in the refrigerator slows down the fermentation process, so just so you know that. So I'm gonna take my discard. You discard a little every day, meaning you get rid of a little bit, and I'm gonna actually save it for a friend, so that, or today I'm gonna give it to my mom, so she can have starter at home and she doesn't have to grow it herself, meaning the 21-day process, roughly 16 to 21 days. Mine was actually 23 days to get what you consider like active yeast, where you can start cooking with it. So I just took 2 spoonfuls out. You never want to use metal. There's something with the metal that it just doesn't love. And so you don't want to use metal. So I took my discard and I'm going to save this for my mom. She's going to take that home and she's going to start feeding. That's going to be her pet. And those last literally years if you take care of them. If you keep them fed, pretty regularly, it will. Can you shut the gate? Then it'll stay alive for years. I know a lady that has had one for 30 years. So now I'm going to feed this starter. So I'm going to get another spoon. Again, no metal, so glass or plastic. I use arrows often. And I'm gonna use wheat flour. I typically use wheat to feed it, and I use white to bake with. So the reason I do that is because, see my heaping tablespoon? Wheat, you need a couple of extra things to add to it if you're going to bake with straight wheat, so that it's not super dense. So I poured a little. I'm really not a measurer. I like to just not follow the rules. But what you want your consistency to be is a thick pancake batter. So can you hold that up?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I don't hold it straight over. Yeah, there we go. This is a good consistency. I would even almost like it a little bit thicker right here. But you want to make sure you just get the sides of it, and you're just mixing around the oxygen in there. This is good to go. I would just throw this little guy. This is just a paper towel that's been, yeah, that's fine. A paper towel that's been turned, into 4s, and I have a rubber band over the top of it. And I just keep this on top. You also can do, on some of my other starters, I use a plate. You just want to make sure that it is going to actually fit over the edge. You don't want any air to be able to get in there, just because, in my opinion and my experience, gnats like to hang out. And you don't want that stuff in or dust or anything to get in it. So that's basically the feeding. I am also going to show you what I would do to do a power feed. So this starter right here that I have 3 going right now, because one was a friend's because mine wasn't ready yet, and then 2 are mine. I'm going to make a special surprise tonight for breakfast tomorrow. And so I'm going to power feed mine. What is a power feed? A power feed is where you take your starter and you multiply it by volume, like, because you need a lot of starter for a specific recipe. So I'm going to feed this. Typically you would power feed, you would take your starter and you would feed it a lot of flour to make more starter so that you can use it for like a lot of bread or cinnamon rolls or whatever, something big that you're about to make, pizza dough, etc. So I'm gonna actually feed this starter half a cup. Sometimes you would even do like 1 whole cup for some recipes, but I'm gonna do half a cup because I've got 3 starters going. That's a lot of starters. And it's just going to double. You know that your starter is ready to bake with when it doubles in size, somewhere between 12 and 24 hours. It could even be just a few hours. So once it doubles, you're ready to bake with it. So I'm gonna feed this half a cup of flour, and I'm actually going to use white flour because this is going to be, it's gonna be for a recipe. I'm actually just gonna power feed mine 1/4 cups because I really do have a lot of starters. So, but power feeding, you can power feed up to a full cup. So like before you make your bread, the day before you would power feed your starter. And you need, for this specific sourdough bread recipe that I followed, that I loved and will continue to make, you need 2.5 cups of starter to do the recipe, which is 3 loaves of bread. 3 small little loaves. And so you would need to think, once your starter rises, you have to take like a wooden spoon or something like that, and it'll be filled with bubbles. Like, so it rises real high, but you have to deflate all those bubbles to see actually how much starter you have. Does that make sense? So that's why you power feed. You want to make sure that you have enough starter for your recipe, and this sourdough bread recipe calls for 2.5 cups of starter. So today my mom and I are just gonna half that and make her some bread with just half of it. So there's that. I'm going to actually I'm gonna measure this one because I don't.
It's metal though.
It is metal,
Are you doing
but I'm not putting metal in the bowl.
Okay.
Make sense? Okay. And I'm just gonna mix it with the bottom of this, and it's just makes this so easy to mix. Like, this is so easy to do. Okay, can you pick that phone up again?
Yeah.
So that they can kind of see. Okay, perfect. So see this consistency? This is a heaping 1/4 cup of flour and then an actual just straight 1/4 cup of water, and it literally becomes the perfect consistency. You see that, Mom? And I'm just really kind of getting the edges too. I really, in one spot specifically, I don't know if you can see that, I'm really gonna clean off the edge in one spot because I want to be able to see the glass. I want to see where it's risen. So, Arrow, we're about to bake. We're about to bake, Arrow. Hold on just a moment. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do right there. You just want to be aware that you want to make sure that the container that you're using is going to allow this to double. So this is going to be, yes, thank you. This is actually going to be, if it doubles, it's going to be like right at the top, which should be fine, okay? So that's it. I'm done. I'm done with power feeding. It literally, this is becoming a long video, but don't be overwhelmed. You're gonna have one. This is gonna be like what you're gonna start with. And you can feed it every day or every other day. And it takes like a minute to do this. Take a little spoon, throw it in the trash, put a little spoonful of flour and a little bit of water, mix it up, and you're done. You don't have to bake every day. And baking the bread is not hard. I'm gonna do a separate video for that. But this is the gist of it. If you have any questions or something I didn't get to, ask, but that's about it.